Hello everyone, so a few weeks ago the developers of Hell Let Loose announced update 13, Flames, Frost and more. In similar fashion to my update 12 preview, let's do an update 13 preview and have a look what is coming up. I've been waiting to create and release this video until I had gathered some more information on what is coming up in the next major update. And as of today, when making this video, there was a new developer briefing with more information on update 13. So I figured it's a good time to do a preview and go over some of the changes we are getting into the game, but also some changes I am hoping for they will implement in update 13. First of all, let's have a look at the roadmap the developers had set out for 21-22. I think a lot of players were hoping that the British forces would be added to the game, me included. Sadly, this is not the case for update 13. When they released the roadmap, the developers already said it was an ambitious roadmap. And if we look at the roadmap, yes, it's highly ambitious, with a lot of features on there. If we look back, they accomplished a lot in the last 3 updates. We got new tanks, Eastern Front, new commander abilities, updated textures, smart materials if you want to call them like that, new sounds, and the list goes on and on. Back to the British forces. In the developer briefing 173, they mentioned it would be added in the first major update for next year, which is gonna be called the Commonwealth expansion, and it's gonna feature a complete new theater of war, with speculation being that it will feature the North African campaign. They did however tease the Brand Gun, an iconic British weapon, and looking from the screenshot it looks absolutely stunning, and I'm really hoping that the bipod will be deployable like the MG, and that it will be for the automatic rifleman class or something. There's also hoping that they will add it in the future to the BAR. While we're on the subject of roadmap, they will be releasing a roadmap somewhere in the upcoming weeks, and we should know more in which direction the game is heading and what kind of features we can expect. So for now I'll be using this roadmap as a guidance throughout this video. With the British forces planned for next year, 2023, let's have a look what we are getting in update 13. They are adding a new Eastern Front map called Kharkov, and I hope my pronunciation is right here and I didn't butcher it. So Kharkov is a snow map and it ties in with Operation Barbarossa, with the Germans invading the USSR in the summer of 1941. A historical fun fact here: by the end of 1941, the Soviets moved roughly around 1,500 factories eastward, and they just stripped the factories and shipped them eastward by any means necessary, using trucks and a roughly estimate of 1.5 million real cars. Anyways, I'm drifting off here. I haven't got a chance to test this map on PTE, well, it's not up yet, and even if it's on PTE, I can't say or show much about it, since there's a form of NDA you need to agree before you can play on PTE. But once it's up, you can sign up for PTE yourself. From the description the developers gave about this new map, it is a hybrid, armor-oriented gameplay, featuring wide open fields but also has industrial complexes tied in for some close quarters urban fighting. What I'm personally hoping for is that we are getting a new, let's call it classic map, like Utah Beach or St. Mary Glees, that has a good balance between open fields, covers, buildings and armor play. However, I am a bit skeptic if we look at the past 3 maps that made it into the game. Let's be honest here, they aren't all that great in terms of balancing and gameplay. For instance, the latest edition, Remagen, it has some major balancing issues, and it mainly revolves around getting a sneaky airhead or garrison across to gain a foothold. Fighting on the bridge can be engaging and enjoyable for a bit, but that novelty wore off quite quickly. If we look at Stalingrad, or Stuttergard as everyone likes to call it, there's also some major issues when it comes to performance, but it also isn't really enjoyable to play, due to whoever caps the midpoint first around the railway area will in 90% of cases win the map, since it's so hard to retake, and all the open areas and whatnot is not really fun to fight in. Kursk is another map that is in my personal opinion not that enjoyable to play. Let's say like if you compare it to the classic maps. This one also has some flaws and issues. I have to admit though, the night version of Kursk is definitely the best night map to play, where you shit bricks from time to time. Let's hope Kharkov will get the Eastern Front more playtime, and maybe it's a good map for competitive play. Maybe we'll finally see the Russians in competitive play. Before we dive further into the next features that are planned for update 13, I want to say here, There will be some renders showed of Jeep's flamethrowers, and these have been showcased years ago, like going back to 2017-18. So just a fair warning that these renders cannot be the final design of something and can be outdated, but it will give us an idea or some hints on what it may look like. With update 13 we're also getting Jeeps, which is a cool way I think for recon to get around the map, instead of walking all the way to the opposite side of the map, or instead of having them to commandeer a transport truck. Although the recon squad could also hitch a ride from one of the recon tanks. Like I said, these renders I'm showing here are a bit outdated, but we can assume and pretty much guarantee the iconic Willys Jeep will be in the game for the United States, the German Volkswagen Kübelwagen, and for the Soviet counterpart to the Willys Jeep, I think a variant of the Soviet gas Jeep will be implemented. This is also another assumption for the gas Jeep. It could be either the Gas 64 or the more popular Gas 67 Jeep. Keep in mind these are all still speculations and assumptions based on some historical facts. On the subject of vehicles, the Soviet forces are also getting a light tank in the form of a T-70. Since this is a light tank, I reckon it will get the same use and gameplay as the counterparts, like the Lux or the Stuart. It will be fast, mobile and pack a little bit of firepower. And also assuming here it will roughly take 2 rockets to destroy depending on where you hit it, and it will be no match for the heavy tanks. This one I'm kinda excited for, that's the Flamethrower edition. I think that I mentioned this one in my update 12 review or somewhere else. How awesome would it be if you could clear a bunker or a trench with a Flamethrower? Just get in there and set everything on fire. Now for this one they already teased a render of the Flamethrower back in 2017, and I'm also kinda excited for, at least hoping for, that if you hit one of the cannons on the back with a bullet, that the player will instantly combust into flames. On a more serious note, at the moment most of the battles in Hell Let Loose are long-range battles, with the M1 Garand Gewehr 43 reigning supreme on the battlefield. It is hard for me to imagine what role or when the Flamethrower will be picked besides having good fun with it. It will be a close combat weapon and there are some situations where it can be useful. But looking at how the combat shotgun is at the moment in the game, it's hard to envision how it will get some serious gameplay, where long-range weapons are king. But it's pretty fucking cool though to have a Flamethrower in there. Also going on a limb here and assuming they will implement Molotovs as well into the game. I can see these becoming very useful. If you want to clear out a trench, building, bunker or whatever, just lob a Molotov grenade in there and watch them burn. I'm also hoping that the Molotov will be available for all factions in the game to balance it out. Give them to certain classes and you also have to practice your grenade throwing skills, since it's damn hard to throw a grenade into a window. Last but not least, they're also adding in new winter uniforms for all factions, and they changed the Silver Vanguard DLC. The winter uniforms are a recolor or reskin at the moment of some existing uniforms. In the case of historical accuracy, well, they aren't. I don't personally mind this, since I'm hoping they will blend in well with the snow maps like Voi or the new one Kharkov. Usually I'm picking the uniform based on the map and which one blends in really well with the environment, so you can have a low profile and be a bushwookie at the same time. I'm hoping the new winter uniforms will do the same for snow maps. They also changed some helmets, they removed 2 existing helmets and added 3 new helmets into the game. Usually a white helmet sticks out like a sore thumb and makes you a bullet magnet, but let's hope they also blend in well with the snow. You can pick up the winter DLC for free in the Steam store, so you might as well add it to your library. They also added the M42 helmet in the Silver Vanguard DLC. This helmet was featured in the artwork of the Silver Vanguard DLC, but never added to the pack. Now they finally added the helmet to the DLC and I must say, this one looks pretty fucking amazing. Last time I checked, the Vanguard DLC was $4.99, but I remember grabbing it for free a while back, since I'm Dutch and we're known for being cheapskates. All in all, I'm pretty excited for this update, and a lot of cool things are coming our way, and update 13 will be released before the end of the year. So to recap what we are getting. We're getting a new light tank for the Soviets, Kharkov has a new winter map on the eastern front, Jeeps, Flamethrowers, recon improvements which will probably be server admin improvements, Besides these additions to the game, they also said in the developer briefing 173 that there will be general quality of life improvements, and let's hope they add a cooldown or something to the flare gun. On the subject of developer briefings, they will be increasing the developer briefings to showcase more content for update 13, so keep an eye out for those. If you want to read the related developer briefings for yourself, I've added the link to these in the description below. Also, leave a comment for which feature you are most excited about or what change you are hoping for. As always, see you in the next one.